All right. Ah, put my ears in. Try that again. All right. All right. I'm always the first to know when I don't have my ears on. Yes, Hickok 45, doing some shooting, blasting some 2 liters, smoking some pot right away, because I'm so happy I have a 1911 to shoot. This is the Tisas, I believe it's pronounced Tisas, 1911 U.S. Army. And it is a copy, yes we would say, of the 1911 A1. They even call it the 1911 A1 U.S. Army. Okay, it's made in Turkey. It says right on there, Tisas Turkive, but it's a Turkish gun, and it's one of the, I guess, many GI model copies, whatever, reproductions, or whatever we want to call them. And it's one that I wasn't aware of. I started seeing it around a little bit. Oh, that's interesting, because, you know, I like 1911s. And it looks like it has promise, you know, as just a nice, really inexpensive, comparatively, 1911. And it might be something you would want to consider if you've never had a 1911 especially, or maybe you've got a bunch of souped up 1911s with lots of money in them, and you've always thought about getting one that's just a plain Jane, like you know, the soldiers carry here for about 75 or 80 years, and there may be still a few carrying them. Which would put it at more than 100 years, right? But it was the official adopted, you know, handgun for the military for at least 75 or 80 years, and then certain units, Marine units, and different outfits carried it on up for years after that. And again, there's probably somebody carrying it now in the military in the United States. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, thought we'd talk to you about it. So, what do you think I should do with it? Shoot some more? Well, let's load it up. I have some mags loaded, okay? And we'll talk about, and I've got a couple of real GI 1911s out, and we'll talk about the differences here and, you know, what they achieved or didn't. All right, I'll go ahead and tell you, they did not a bad job, okay? Bottom line is, it seems to be not a bad job. Now, it's not perfect. It's not perfect like me, but it's not bad. What about you, cowboy? You need a bullet? I guess he did. What about you, Mr. Gong? You need a bullet? How about a 230 grain full metal jacket? Yeah, you needed that. How about you, Buffalo? You need a 230 grain slug? You got it. All right, just whatever I can do for you. How about Mr. Blue Kentucky 2-liter right here? How about you? You need one? About bowling pins. Boom. I just have too much fun. 1911s are just fun to shoot. Again, you don't have to be a carry gun or your ultimate gun, pistol, but they're so historic, fun to shoot, and just classic. We don't appreciate their help. Yeah, I don't think many suppressors were put on the old GI models, and that's understandable. So I'm going to shoot some more because I just love to shoot these things. It's not a bad version of the old GI, okay? That's just my opinion, but I've had several of these. I have several. These are my A1s, and that's what it's patterned after, okay? Not the 1911, but the changes that were made, you know, around 1924, was it? And they did some things with the beaver tail and improved it, they thought. I'm not sure they did. They did in some ways. But anyway, on the A1s, you've got the short trigger. You've got the raised, you know, arched mainspring housing. They got that right, didn't they? You've got the little bit bigger beaver tail, because on the original 1911s, I mean, you're almost assured of hammer bite on those if you shoot them much. And we'll talk about hammer bite. And you can see it's a pretty good, I think maybe it's easier to tell with this one. This is the Remington Rand original. And I mean, now the finish is better on this one, and maybe they didn't get the finish perfect, the parkerization, but it's not horrible. You don't have kind of the green tint that you have on the originals. Maybe it'll turn greener over time. But you got, you know, your trigger and everything, you know, the plastic grips. It's not bad. It really is not. the plastic grips on the originals are a little deeper cut or something. They look just a little bit different, a little darker in color and everything. So we could nitpick on a lot of things, but not a bad job. If you look at the sights, you got the similar bad sights, right? Not much of a sight there. And most of you who compete in USPSA would not want to go to a match with those sights, right? I mean, uncock that hammer and you can see. Now the hammer's a little different versus the Remington Rand, but now in the Colt, it's very, very similar. Even the knurling is very similar, maybe not quite as far down. We're really getting picky on that, I guess. So they really, and then you got your cutouts, on the A1, they began to kind of shave those out, those corners. You don't have those sharp corners. I think one of the criticisms of the original 1911 was people with small hands had trouble, getting to that long trigger and all that, and then helping cut that out was a benefit to them. Obviously, I don't need it, so I criticize that. And so this has got it, Now the one thing you can tell that is a little different, this is a typical newer slide, modern, you got a lower ejection port there on it, versus the old ones, okay? So a little bit lower cut on that, like you're gonna get with a Colt 1990 or 1980 series, 70 series, that kind of thing. And it is a 70 series action, pretty much. There's not a firing pin block, so it's kind of a 70 series action. And let's see what else about I think it's got the bushing style, 70 series bushing. I've taken it apart. It's kind of nice. Some of the big tech folks don't like us to disassemble things. It's like we're teaching you how to build something. But one thing about it, I do get some hammer bite on this one, and I normally don't get hammer bite. This is one of the negatives, maybe. I don't get hammer bite with the A1s. Now I prefer, if I'm going to do a lot of shooting, or if I'm going to an IPSC match or something, a really nice high ride beaver tail, but the A1 is not that, but I at least don't get slide bite with them. I've never had one where I got slide bite that I can recall. I do get a little slide bite with this some. You can see it's a little raw there, no more than I've shot it today. So we're looking at that, trying to figure out why, and it's hard to see. The hammer's coming back about the same distance from the beaver tail and all that, but we decided there's something about the contour of this that when you just grasp it, my hand and John's both, it goes up higher on, or like over the beaver tail. It tends to, okay? Whereas it doesn't do that when we just grab these. It slips under there. Now I'm pretty close to getting slide bite even on these, but I don't get it, never get it on a Glock either. So there's just a little bit of difference there, just enough that you might get some slide bite with this one where you don't with a normal A1, okay? Just pointing that out, because I don't want you to get hurt and be crying at the range. I mean, it's really not very flattering when you're at the shooting range and you're over there crying. Your buddies will think less of you, I guarantee you. Especially if you're bleeding and you're crying, or if you're not bleeding and you're crying, maybe they will think less of you. Now, the 1911 was mainly designed to shoot cinder blocks, concrete blocks, right like that. That's their main purpose. So we like to, fulfill that. And to shoot 2 liters. At least that's what John Browning told me. I used to live in Ogden, Utah. I was his neighbor. Cowboy, don't you laugh at me. He's acting like I'm lying, like I'm making up stories. I'm going to shoot some on the paper over here. And it slings out those same big bullets that 1911s tend to sling, right? 230 grain slugs. How about that, Bill? I hate to shoot that with a 45. Such a waste. Let's do it anyway. They're better for some high-powered rifle. Oh man, how about the ram over there? Boom. How about that turkey on the top row? Oh, I saw it right in front of him. So it seems to be a good shooter. I mean, considering you have almost no sights, right? So what have I forgotten? I'm not going to keep you late tonight because I know a lot of you have pizza ordered, and I don't want to be in your way when it gets there and you happen to finish a gun video when you're hungry. The markings, you know, obviously, you know, on the real ones, put it that way. You got the, you know, 1911 A1 U.S. Army right there on the frame. Same with both of these. And this is one you see my Colt with we know a little bit of the history on that one. We talked about that where the guy brought it back and he was afraid to get in trouble, so he tried to scratch out U.S. property on it, but the serial number is very clear. Well, in this one they put the U.S. Army on the left side of the slide, and then they've got the serial numbers right there, and the importer is SDS in Knoxville, Tennessee is right there, you know, and you got some of that turkey over here. But that kind of information that you would not have on one of these, it's not obnoxious, you know. They didn't put something, you know, on the big slab side that's obnoxious or anything at all. The thing you notice the most when you look at it, you almost don't see any of the other roll marks or anything, but the U.S. Army, even though it's not in the correct place, I don't think it was there on any of them. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've got two different brands here, Colt and Remington Rand, but it's not a big deal. It's not a real USGI firearm, okay, put it that way. So I don't know how much this appeals to people. I know some people have a problem with where it's made, maybe. The price is like $3.99 or less MSRP. Unbelievable for a 1911. And it's a hammer forged barrel. I guess it's probably castings on the frame and everything, but a lot of them are, and they seem to work. I'm sure lots of MIM parts and everything. But you know, if you're not going to war, you know, you might put 50,000 rounds through it, not have any trouble. Don't know. If you can put 50,000 rounds through it, I'm going to come to you for a loan. You've got some resources, right? But these are appealing to this kind of gun, whether whoever makes it. Springfield, I think, makes one kind of like this, and whoever else. Just the plain Jane basic U.S. model, because it has so much history in this country, so many decades. This was the handgun. It's just really impressive that we can still buy these, and that this gun was used so long and still serves, and it still serves a lot of people. A lot of people carry them. You make fun of them. I don't make fun of people. Some people make fun of them who carry one, because they're in all sorts of configurations. And whether you have a 1911 or your 1911s are really hotshot 1911s, or you carry one that's a smaller one, maybe it's alloy frame, you know, like my Dan Weston or something, there's still something appealing in owning, obviously, or I wouldn't own these, but there's just something appealing about owning one that is just like the GIs carried, you know, nothing glamorous about it. You're really mediocre, less than mediocre sights and all that kind of thing. And you can see, I'm not the best marksman out there, but you can pop stuff at distance. You can shoot up close. I'll shoot a little bit more before I let you go. You know, so, and I'm not trying to sell you this one, but these are cool. It seems like one option that might be interesting to some people, because you don't have to have a big budget to get into a cool looking 1911 like this. And you know, money's tight for a lot of people, and this is not probably going to be your carry gun. It might be, could be. All right, let's pop it. Yeah, man. I'll tell you one thing about it. It has a better trigger than I would have expected. Okay, I got a loaded mag, an empty mags in my pocket. I got one loaded in there. I just stuck it in there. There it is. I didn't get my mag pouch out. I'm sorry. But it has a nice trigger. I just have a feeling I want to reach out before I finish here. How about that pig on the top row? It's a little more of a challenge. Be going low. All right, got him on the last round, and I am feeling that slide bite. See me? Now, if I started bleeding, I better quit shooting, because I don't want you to see me crying on air. So you do get a little slide bite. Like I said, it's not our imagination. We're obviously not looking for negatives or looking for positives, either one, that are not there. It's just something both of us noticed. I did first because I was shooting it and I was getting a little slide bite, and what am I doing here? Is this a 1911 or an A1? So I was getting a little more slide bite than I get, and don't scratch my guns. So what did I forget to tell you? Like I say, MSRP around $399. It's not a bad version, copy, I would say, of what was carried in this country for so many years. You got your lanyard loop there. So they really did attempt to be true to the original as much as you could probably do financially, what was feasible. Like that slide, I'm sure that would have required a special order of slides that don't have the lowered ejection port, and that kind of thing. I don't know. Again, it's not like I'm selling a Tisas Firearms, but I'm pleasantly surprised with it. We've not had a malfunction, have we? And it feels good and it doesn't look bad. Just an option, something that's out there. And I love those old babies with the vertical serrations. Even a modern gun that's got a beaver tail and some better sights and some of that, I just still prefer the vertical serrations. It's just what a 1911 ought to have. So the model 1911 A1 U.S. Army from Tisas might be an option if you are one of those extremely unfortunate people. You're actually a shooter, you have some guns, but your mind just really isn't quite right because you don't own a 1911 yet. With things like this out there, there's not a lot of excuses for people like you. So you need to be doing something about that. Life is good.
Tired. It's a long walk from where I had to shoot that. Oh man. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. Since you're here, I want to let you know about our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. TalonGunGrips.com. Check out everything they have over there. You can get lots of different grips, the stick-on grip textures for your handguns and rifle grips, so go check them out. Also Ballistol, they're a firearms lubricant or anything else you might need lubricating. It's water soluble and non-toxic. Been using it on the compound and cleaning all of our guns. It's a cleaner and a lube for over 10 years. So Ballistol, Talon Grips, definitely check both of those companies out. And also, while you're on the internet, don't forget to go to hickok45.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Hickok45, Twitter, Hickok45, Instagram, The Real Hickok45, and also I have an Instagram page where I post behind the scenes stuff and different things like that. John, JOHN_HICKOK45 on Instagram. And the next thing you have to do is watch more videos.